There were so many unknowns for her, for us, everybody involved. We just did the best that we could to keep things in control, which we basically had no control over.
You know, there's nothing you can protect from. You know, if we're riding go-karts, you can wear helmets and, you know, closed-toed shoes and long pants and long sleeves. But, you know, she's a strong girl. She doesn't want to live a strange life just because of this.
I was counting on Mom and Dad, my sister, my aunt and uncle, my grandparents to drive me to school, even though I had a brand new car sitting in the driveway at home. I lost the ability to pack up on a Friday and go see my fiance at the time in Texas at Fort Hood if I wanted to, taking a bath, taking a shower. My parents have a huge pool in the backyard that I couldn't swim in alone anymore. I joked a lot about my aunt and uncle and my grandparents babysitting me because that's what it felt like. But you're 20 and 21 years old. You get to the point where you're like, am I ever going to be able to do anything alone again?
I can hardly imagine being in their shoes and having their life, you know, as upended as they are.
There are multiple potential reasons for developing seizures in adulthood. So some people can have a developmental malformation inside of the brain, so the brain doesn't form quite right. So while you were born with that condition, because the brain's already formed, the seizures, interestingly, might not show up until 20, 30 years down the road.
She was an average normal person up until now almost 7 years ago, when all of a sudden she started having seizures.
It was September 15th of 2014, and I was sitting in a night class. It was art for the elementary educator. The teacher was actually talking about, I think it was her dad was really close to passing away, and I just remember feeling really emotional about it. And then I woke up in an ambulance.
She said, I had a seizure, and I'm like, what?
Epilepsy is unfortunately a very common neurological illness. It affects anywhere from 1% to 4% of the population. The seizures basically come on out of the blue, and it can affect their life in severe ways.
They tell you, it could have just been a one-off thing and it'll never happen again. About a month later, maybe a little less, I had another one, and it was just as bad. And we went back to see Dr. Kroom, and he was like, I think it's probably gonna be an issue.
We were having them like almost every day, sometimes multiples a day. So that's when they put her in the hospital and started doing testing, trying to figure out what's going on, why are we seeing more activity? They have to keep upping her dosage of medicine. And like Dr. Kroom said, at some point she'll get to the point that we can't give her anymore. And as much anticonvulsants as she takes, it wears her out. She's constantly tired.
Things still weren't going great for her. She was still having seizures. We decided to bring her into the hospital, where we placed electrodes using the ROSA robot inside of her brain and exploring that area in more detail.
The seizures were coming from one spot, and it really seemed to be the spot that was active right at the very onset of the seizures. It was nowhere else, and thus it made sense to try to remove that part of the brain.
I went from having seizures unpredictably for 6.5 years, and now that I've had that surgery, I am 8 months and 2 weeks seizure-free. That's just a huge relief. I came home after an appointment and was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna try and have brain surgery. And their first reaction was kind of, you're gonna do what? And after explaining it to them, they were like, that's pretty well thought out, and that could really make a huge change for you.
I think one of the things that helped me was the thought of what could be if she was able to have surgery and it was successful, and also her excitement. It was never I don't know about this. It was like, bring it on, let's get this done.
When a patient comes to St. Luke's with epilepsy, they have a world-class team with all the possible options. There's no surgical epilepsy treatment that is being done in the world that is not available to our patients at St. Luke's.
I think we have a wider range of diagnostic and treatment options than other places.
Life is amazing. I don't feel like I am revolving around a clock and medicine.
I think today she's just a lot more relaxed and feels the independence and, isn't worried about getting in a car and driving anywhere or getting on her bike on a nice day.
To be able to kind of get her on track for what she wanted to do to fulfill her life. It's hard to find other words for it. It's just really satisfying.
I'm happier. I'm more excited. I feel like I can do whatever I want and not have to be accompanied. It took me over 3 years to find my answer. I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I wouldn't have the peace that I have. And I also wouldn't have the opportunity to reach out and tell other people, you can do this. There's light at the end of that tunnel.